Hey, how's it going? I think I'll have you look at my signs first, if you would. You do not need to look up my nose. That is not necessary. Okay. I don't know how to make you go away. I think I have to resituate everything right here. And there. Okay. So, I have like some things to talk about, and somewhere I have some cards. I may not talk about those. I'm like having a hard time, as you can see, articulating what's on my mind. Because there's a lot of things, several things, like things happened, and I watched some teachings, and things happened there with those, and then my brain made connections, so it's just like a lot of conflicting stories and narratives trying to integrate and like assimilate into my brain, so I'm just feeling a little confused. I'll do the best I can. I did write some stuff down. I don't really know what I wrote. I don't know. I thought I was just writing notes, and it just kept going. So I have a vague idea. It's not like I was like on another planet or something. It just came out so fast. I just, or maybe you don't. I don't know. But I'm trying to explain. So, a couple of things is, it crossed my mind a couple of weeks ago that, like, the real world, like the one that we're probably both in right now on either side of this screen, where, like, people have jobs and there's strip malls and suburbia and just, the world, the regular world that everybody expects. But what if, like in The Matrix, the way that a lot of people like to refer to our reality, because it looks real, but it's fake. And that's a concept that some people could wrap their minds around as long as it's in a movie, and some of them can't. Whether you're talking about theoretical reality or a movie, like some of them are just like that. That's inaccessible for them. That's fine. That's not a failing. Like, there's no law that says that you have to be interested in or understand that stuff. Just for now. Let's just leave it at that for now. So, but we have this consensus reality. But it just occurred to me, like, what if, like in The Matrix, the reality we've all agreed upon is the real reality isn't? Like, what if all the stuff that we call fantasy, science fiction, fiction genres as opposed to non-fiction, what if that stuff is not fiction? Like, think about how many people believe in dragons and fairies and ghosts and parallel realities and Bigfoot and on and on and on. Inner Earth cities. Like, there's so much stuff like that. And, okay, for one thing, who says it can't exist as parallel realities? All of that stuff. Okay, so that's just one layer of what I've been thinking about. Although I have to say, that my inclination is to prefer the world that we think is not real, as opposed to the one that I'm actually, for the most part, in. And it's great. It has some very good sides to it. But sometimes the way that we act in it and on it is something I would like to get as far away from as possible, even if it means I have to go to another dimension to do it. And then the other, but like, oh my God, wouldn't it be dangerous over there? Like, dragons, are they going to be breathing fire? Possibly. Are they going to be people with heat vision? Possibly. That's dangerous. It's dangerous here. Like, ow, really? I just put like pain stuff on here, and it wasn't even hurting. Okay, never mind. So what if it's dangerous? It's dangerous where you probably are, from a number of things, like maybe not a fire-breathing dragon, but a firebug, igniting your town, or a negligent power company not maintaining their, like, electrical transformers that are out in the middle of dry-ass timber. Okay, moving on. And then there's like, I've been trying to like follow like what I'm learning in the teachings that I watch all the time, and be less of a, not participant, but less of a commentator, I guess, on just what's going on in general, even though the comment sections are just sitting there just waiting for you to drop whatever comes across your mind in there, and without editing usually, like something is emotionally like it just sets you off, and next thing you know, you're like, bad thing I'm saying about somebody I don't know with a lot of curse words, No, probably, and then like maybe later you're like, oh, I probably should not have done that, because it's it's beyond the point of thinking better of doing something, but you still want that. I'm not saying discard that at all, because that will give you the opportunity to, should you choose to go forward with whatever it is you're thinking about, at least you've taken a moment to examine whether what you're going to say, I hope that's what you're doing in that moment of pause, is to consider the ramifications of what you're going to say. Like, is it going to hurt somebody? Is it going to... God, that's like enough right there. That's like enough permutations on its own to cover whatever else I was going to say, I think. They may have been very similar. Anyway. So, right, the next thing is that I noticed that in this reality, well, we have all these things going on, and just to like be concise, let's just say that we are on our own individual missions, and I'm just using mission as a term to describe like somebody on a mission, somebody off on a quest to do a particular thing, and they have to be single-minded about it to get it done because it's important, and you can't like lollygag and get distracted and, dawdle forever doing something that's not going to do the thing you're supposed to be out doing. It's like a singular pursuit. So, I have to back it up and think about what was I going to say. Well, anyway, so you're living in this IRL, let's call it, as opposed to the fiction and fantasy world that I now think it at least has as much validity as this one. But here you're like a sports fan, or you're a voter of a particular political persuasion or whatever, or party, whatever, Like persuasion, that's an interesting word that I just kind of spat out there, because it suggests that you possibly chose, as most people do, what party to be in when they're going to vote. So I'm just going to take a moment and make sure what I was talking about is correct. So yeah, that comes under the category of doing something because you chose to do it. And the thing that I'm noticing that is somewhat distressing, because I feel like it's not what we should be doing. I mean, everything we're doing is what we should be doing. And I don't mean like should as in I think so and that's why. Should is just, in this case, to indicate that we do all have our own activities, let's call it, that we pursue, that we know that we're going to go out and do, and that's the thing that, like, we get up every day and we go out and do it, or we go out and prepare to do it, or earn the money we need to do it. It's like always there's like an end game usually. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be specific or in sight. You just know that eventually, at a time in the future from now, something is going to happen. Like, you can't miss with that kind of prediction. So, let's say that's our individual amongst many billions. Billions and billions, possibly. Probably. So, each of those people have their thing that, like maybe it's the political party. Maybe that has enough to tick all the boxes for you, but some people have, like, other things, aspects of their life that they indulge in, like sports, watching it or participating in it, or having some kind of involvement in it, some kind of skin in the game. Maybe not like, I guess if you go into a stadium and paying for the merch, you're involved in a way. I mean, certainly the organization loves you. And then there's just so many other things like that. Music, theater, theater is not just the building, it's the people that, build the sets and run the lights and make the sound happen and are in the orchestra and, do the sets and make the curtains do whatever up or down, sideways and back, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that have to be done, and there's usually an individual that's making it happen. So, as an example, everything else is probably very much like that. Like, a lot of people together are doing what it takes to make whatever happens in building with sign of business on it do what it does. You know what I mean? And I don't know, like, maybe because we're individuals, and we are so diverse in our interests, and also just in ourselves, just to each other, there's a lot of diversity, unless you are in a place where everybody's like you and there's not much diversity until you leave your particular area. That's kind of sad. Excuse me. I mean, the monochrome zones is kind of sad. But they're not hard to get out of. That's for sure. I mean, wow. I mean, you could live in a country that's really monochrome, I suppose, and have to go a long way to find somebody that's not, or people that aren't. But I'm just Rambling? Yeah, I'm just rambling. I'm just rambling now. So, Ed, I do have a point, though. We get so wrapped up in all of our stuff that we even will argue with each other about it for like, mine is better. Mine is so much better than yours that yours has to go. In fact, you have to go. Everyone that likes what you like has to go, or everyone that is like you are has to go, which is pointless and stupid. And I mean, I guess there is a point. Like, it has to happen in order for other things to happen. That's how the world works. I know that's not a popular or well-known opinion, but these types of concepts will and are becoming more popular. And then, like I have said recently, and I will continue to say, I can't wait till this kind of stuff is mainstream. I mean, you can find a lot of what I'm talking about in science, and here I go getting super sidetracked. So we are like, especially with politics or products, we are so as consumers and the public are so easily influenced and manipulated. Like right now, it's the politics, and it's got our blood up, boiling. And then there's also like Target, and who else got? Amazon gets it pretty bad, and Walmart, like the boycotts that, whole weekends, 2 days, whatever, of people not patronizing these places and then never going back, like Target. Target, you done fucked up. But we get so wrapped up in fighting their fights, and then especially with like advertising. So there's another component of both of the first two. You use advertising a super lot, like for actual ads, and also I think something very akin to like media training for someone that's never been on TV and doesn't know how to act in an interview situation with other people, where you have to kind of, I mean, it gets out of control sometimes, but that's, sometimes it's just unexpected, and sometimes it is expected for effect, for like drama, and to keep eyes peeled and on the show, like, oh, things are getting heated, I better watch. And everybody pretty much is aware that that's what's happening, at least in the studio or the business. Many people at home are starting to cotton to the fact that yeah, what you're watching is driving up your blood pressure. Is it your friend that it's doing that? Is what I feel like people should be asking. And there's so much out there that are like these sort of forces of authority that just bend and twist us in ways that we're often not really aware of, or if we are, we're sort of not in a position to really do anything about, much more than complain. And that banks, bad feeling, like it's a buildup. And so, in the situations that I'm speaking of, those three groups, and not just those, like add religion. So religion, advertising, what were the other two? Media and politics. They all are industries, of whipping the public around and bending them into a position that will have them filling their coffers and doing what they want to do and thinking what they want us to think. It's that deep. But like I said, people are starting to cotton on to that, and that is good. We need more of that. And so here's the thing, though. Doing all of that, in the midst of it, what they've done is pit us against each other. And it's like, wait a minute, we didn't do all of the things that, Who do you know that can honestly say that they know they lost their job because their boss wanted to get rid of them to give it to an immigrant? Like, the way this stuff is couched is so unbelievable if you think about it. Like, they're not coming in and taking people's jobs. They're gone, a lot of them, and we have like bare-ish grocery shelves, and prices are high because the labor isn't bringing in the product, and so there's more demand than there is supply. And that also puts us in a situation where we're competing for goods and services. We didn't do that to each other. I mean, maybe small scale businesses, but I'm talking on the corporate effects, millions level situation where there's lobbyists involved and big dollar donors that became what they want became more important than directing energy and attention to what all of the people want and need, because it's not about just exchanging favors. It's a job. You're there to act as the person in this specified position. So, but that's not how it's gotten to be. Less and less like that, and a lot more time, as far as I can tell, is spent with the politicians arguing with each other more than I can see, and then they're letting so much stuff happen that they should be at least objecting to, and they're not, which makes you think that they have skin in some game over there going on. Like, are you like making a profit here or something? But that's capitalism, so it could be. But when it's to the point that it is now, where people that are homeless now have to be killed to get them out of the way, boy, talk about like removing the humanity from people. I don't know, like it might be a higher fall for someone like Kilmeade to become homeless, but it's not impossible. I mean, keep saying stupid stuff like that. My goodness. Be careful what you wish for. So that's kind of what's been on my mind, and now I've been blabbing for a while, so I'm just gonna quickly read this because it is probably, well, I don't know if it's gonna be more cohesive than what I just said, but we'll see. Oh, that's the problem. Ahem. I don't really have a title on this, so. Oh, that reminds me. Oh, yeah, I guess this is it. I just saw this, so I wrote this yesterday, and I was thinking of how to articulate what I was talking about, and this came to mind, so here we go. The Earths are dividing with... Oh, the Earths are dividing. It's like a cheese pull. A dimensional cheese pull. The Earth and the last cycle that's closed. The most consequential I know of was, up to now, was in 2012 with the closing of the cycle that represented on the closing of the cycle recorded on the Mayan calendar, represented as a disc with glyphs written upon it. We had translated it improperly, partially, and we decoded it wrongly further by trying to fill in blanks. We eventually got it right, but the message and its context correctly interpreted, we still haven't. The key to understanding fully what's happened to be the Maya and Anasazis. Oh, what happened to Let me try this again. Okay, the key to understanding fully what happened to the Maya and the Anasazi and why is mostly unknown to the general public. Those that do have experience in a completely different field. Those that do have experience in a completely different field. So the two disciplines don't seem to overlap. There's a spiritual component here, and I believe what happened to those ancient, mysteriously disappeared races is that they did as did the biblical figure Elijah. The fully embodied Christ consciousness that, when followed faithfully, disembodies one as they begin to become more of a light being, becoming less and less solid and more energy. I think that's what happened to Elijah, because they said he turned into light and disappeared. Energy, light, vibration, and frequency. Wait, I already read this. Pretty sure I already read this on here. Didn't I do something else? Thought I did. Am I just tripping? Well, I'm just going to keep reading because I could have sworn I had something else going here. Okay. Energy, light, vibration, and frequency. In those forms, we do incarnate and... in those forms, we disincarnate, and that allows us freer dimensional travels. Yeah, I totally have read this before. So what did I think I was... maybe I wrote it in a different area. Hi, brain. Welcome to the party. Yeah, so... oh my god, here's what I was thinking of. It's much less involved. God, how could I forget? I know I could forget. Don't answer that. Return of the Guardians. Fighting over things. Focusing on the wrong pains. Theirs, not ours. Neglecting each other as we do. I don't want to be a scold. I started recommending movies and shows on social, and one of the first was Return of the Guardians. It's marketed as a kid movie, but I wasn't one when I watched it and saw that and more from it. Like, yes, it's a kid's movie, but I got a little more out of it. I thought as it began, I thought, Guardians, why that? What are figures that are fictional, not human, or not entirely protecting us from? We grow out of them, and even the parts of us that behave, and even the parts of us that believe and value those things as children, we mature beyond. So, what that was about there is like, well, you know how you can watch a kid movie if, like, I don't have kids, but I know people that do. I'm related to people that do. So I've watched a lot of kid movies, and I've been the adult watching with the kid a lot, you know? Or even watching cartoons that I watched as a kid, as an adult. My point is that the animators and the writers of those are aware of that dynamic, and so I think they add a little bit more texture and depth to the story for a more mature audience. and since it's adults basically creating something that they know adults are going to also consume along with their kids, they have in there sort of like little intellectually more in-depth context and things, so that an adult doesn't want to just stab themselves in the ear with a fork because they're watching some dumb kids thing. And I appreciate that one. I appreciate that. So, in the Guardians, the Return of the Guardians, gonna spoil some here. Remember the signs. I warned you. It is about, like, all of, like I said, those sort of icons that as children we totally believe in and put all of this love and wishing power into and attention, like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and all of them that you could think of like that. And I don't know how worldwide that particular movie, how well it translates as far as those childhood like icons. So I think it might be like pretty American. But having said that, basically there's a holiday for every character that's in there that's not just a human. And the power of belief is adult belief, a child belief is very strong. Like, it can move us to do a lot of things that are unexpected. Or as a group, the power of people, like a group, coordinated meditation, when everyone knows there's a challenging event happening, there has been a measurable effect, a positive one, that group meditations focused on, moderating tempers, for instance, in meetings or, possible violent things that people are fearful of that are brewing that could happen. And so it has been coordinated to where people gather, with the intent to help heal some situation and meditate on that. And they found that it lowered the temperature of a lot of these things, or made it less bad, like in case of like a natural disaster or something like that, or some, international figure like the Pope, for instance, being ill. If people around the world, not just Catholics, meditated on this person going through their illness with like as little pain as possible, or if they're dying, going out with as little pain as possible, or being selfish humans, we're like, get better now. We still need to, have you around, because I can't do the whole, the Pope is gone, we gotta wait around till the smoke is the right color, and we have no Pope. Like, I definitely feel like there's people that are just kind of undone when their regularity in reality is upset. And even if you don't rely on it that way, it's still upsetting. It might manifest differently than perhaps you've come in unglued and crying or something, but that's not to say the effects definitely wouldn't be felt by you, even if you were really far away. And I'm wandering so far afield. So, in the movie, the characters are like losing to like video games and modern society and the naivete that there used to be when I was a kid, which is 6 decades ago, so a long time. Much longer than a kid just growing up into like adolescence. You start, understanding like, Yeah, Santa Claus, get it. It's not even have anything to do with like Christmas time, which is supposed to be religious stuff. And you start figuring out stuff like that and noticing that the ads that come every time there's a holiday, you start maybe making the correlation that, like, hey, that has just been around, so I can just be all, buy me candy, buy me toys. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, maybe that clicks with you and you don't like that. You're like, wait a minute, that's really messed up. Like, you get, taking advantage of a child's wonder and working them like that. Like, that just, it must piss parents off, that their kid is, like, so easily falling for this crap, and then they're expected to do it. Excuse me. So, in the movie, it was a quest for one of the characters that was sort of contributing to, like, the loss of power, and also the loss of power was, there was like a scale, I guess you could say, but what was causing it was the kids were growing up and were becoming more cynical, and just even beginning earlier and earlier to, like, know what's up. Like, no, Santa Claus was not a thing, or the Easter Bunny, another one that is for some reason wrapped up in religion, although I know why it got that way, but that took some study. They most certainly are not, they're not even telling you the stuff on PBS, like, you gotta go looking for it. Or maybe they are, I don't monitor PBS. Oh God. When it was around, I'm kind of joking, because I know that whatever happens to it, it's gonna be reinstated. It's just, anyway, the point is that it was bad enough for these characters to exist in a world where not only did fewer and fewer people believe in them, people were not, like in Monsters, Inc., the kids were not scared of the monsters. So we lose a certain kind of innocence as we get older, and then as we lose our innocence, it almost seems to take it's like a deficit to these characters, or like Toy Story. That's another story where some childhood thing that your belief and even love gave something like inanimate or so-called non-existent life, and when you stop believing and caring, or you're not scared by it, or it doesn't give you wonder or joy of anticipation anymore, then it's kind of like it has no reason to exist, except it's not just an it in this movie. And as crazy as it sounds, okay, so wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. So one of the characters themselves was kind of like what was part of the drama of, like, tipping of the balance, because they sort of started to believe as the kids did, and then because of who the character was, the character was like a child itself, so it didn't even clock what was happening. But then it began to, like, take part of it, and it took almost like, taking a hand in the destruction of its own people for it to, like, wake up to that. Like, it took a trauma to awaken that, to put those 2 points, point A and point B together, to connect those dots. Like, they didn't realize, like, oh my God, I'm helping this happen. I'm, like, eliminating people that I know and love and are like my family, and also myself. Like, yes, that sounds so human. We had to learn it from somewhere. A whole nother conversation and video. But I'll just give you a link for that. I'm not doing it. But the point is that movie, I felt like, was saying, this is what's happening to your reality. Like, what it was, what everybody used to believe in and everybody agreed was the way things were, has been like usurped and preempted and under attack, and it's been people have tried to portray what we used to be proud of and loved throughout the world for as something not good, something not worth the love and admiration that it used to get. And then we changed, and there wasn't so much a maturation. It seems like we've devolved in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of people want to go back to this time, want to go back to the way things were when people couldn't do this. Like, it's always now, let's go back to when this set of people had less or no rights than they used to again, or have the same lack of rights as they used to in the past. And it took people going to jail and getting hurt or worse, for years, making these sacrifices so that everyone could have access to these rights. And we're in a time now where people don't believe in those things like they're fairy tales or something, but they were real. They somewhat still are. They definitely still are in the memories of people. And it's almost like what we're experiencing, the loss of, that used to be real, and we're now being told that it's not real, it's not good, and you never had it, or you shouldn't have had it. It's like, I understand what those characters were going through, and then I also understand why it was good for them to get together and find their way to make themselves something that people wanted still, and for their children, and the children embraced again. And so I just kept finding parallels to like life right now. Like I said, I'm gonna stick with the United States, but I know there's similar things happening in, like, all you gotta do is look at England and see, like, oh wow, I mean, not totally exactly the same, but that's just one place where people that are not in charge are like, we are not letting the people in charge run things anymore, because they are running us and economies into the ground, and it's not safe. And there's a lot of us though, so it's going to take a while. It's a lot to work out, but we'll get there, I feel like. So one of the other things, I think this would be the last thing, is that we're just not like really paying attention to, and I guess that was my first point too, that we're not really paying attention to like what we're fighting about, because in a lot of cases I feel like we're fighting for the wrong stuff. Like, I feel like instead of paying attention to restoring like fairy tale characters into a state where kids think they're real, or adults like play enough pretend about it that they give it life again. I kind of feel like the reality we're living in right now is that a lot of us are kind of, I guess, in a state of despair in a way, because we don't have a light and joy that we had like years ago when we were kids, when the world was different. And I think we're in need of that whimsy, of that childish place of joy, of like abandon and suspension of all of the harsh reality, because that's what makes it, that's one of the things I think that makes it easy to like stay sane in like this kind of turbulence that we're in, which is going to resolve, but we're in the thick of it now, and we're not used to it, and it's a lot. So these are tarot cards, I usually pull the oracle cards, so these take a little more mental work, but let's just go with it. So this is someone who is wistful for what used to be, and they're looking away. And for this particular reading, I'm getting that this is not what normally is like. You have this over here that you're ignoring, thinking about this empty thing that is what already happened. I'm feeling more like these are. Hold on, my words are getting all mixed up here. Well, actually, they are exactly that, but wistful for like what was. That like she's thinking like, oh, you know, when I was a kid, things were so much happier, like so much lighter, and the feeling of emptiness, I think, is represented by this bowl here that is empty, and this is over here like the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and whatever else, I don't know, the Tooth Fairy, and you're not seeing them. It's like you're kind of looking over them like they're not important, but they are a part of you that used to be strong. And I think this is like would represent for a lot of what a lot of people may be feeling, like an emptiness, because everything is kind of dark right now, or a lot is, and it's really, a lot of us are having a hard time. Like, it's a struggle to be upbeat, you know, to be positive, because there's a lot of things happening, and it's not true for everyone, though, in the country. So that's good, because then it would just be like, it would sweep the country, sort of the feeling of, I don't know, I don't even want to characterize it, of this empty bowl, let's say. So, I think we have to come back to a place where we do pay attention to what's in these bowls, that we grow up and we're not kids anymore, because to believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny is lame and whatever, but not really, because symbolically it's like hope and anticipation. And like Halloween, you get to dress up and have a party, and sure, there's candy, like, don't get me wrong, I love it, but that can't be like that shouldn't be the only high point. For example. Okay, so next card is Judgment. And Judgment sure looks to be underwater, and it's all giving up the ghost. But if you notice, maybe it's not that. Like, I laughed, so please know that I don't mean that it's giving up the ghost. In fact, I would say that it kind of correlates with the first card, where we feel down, beneath, like, water pressures, like, weighted. And if you look at this picture, it's like, it's almost like you're trying to bail out the ocean with a teaspoon. You're completely overwhelmed by the power of all of this. And so, but this is like symbolic. Like, this is more about a feeling of that empty bowl feeling, where you're just like disillusioned, and you've grown up and out of childish fun things that used to give you joy. And maybe we don't even realize that that's happening with us, and so, because we're getting so wrapped up in fighting about stuff that is really like not even our fight, and it serves the people and organizations that we're not really getting anything from. Like, what we're getting is an excuse to have something to argue about. and the privilege to buy some stuff with the name of other people doing stuff that we're just sitting there watching. I mean, I don't mean that to say, like, you can't enjoy what you want to enjoy. I also enjoy sports. I like to watch athletes be athletic. I'm talking about the commercial hypnotism that's put on us that it doesn't allow us to see that we've lost our joy, you know, like our team won after 30 years, like, what was it, the White Sox or something? I don't know. But that's not even really our own lives. And what do our lives have that is like that? Like, what is our big gain and goal? That we watched the Super Bowl? We spent money at the grocery store for that stuff. We, you know, to entertain other people, to all sit around and watch the football game and eat food and drink beer. And I feel like we need to grow out of that. I feel like we need to mature above and beyond that. But I think the way to do that is to recover our joy, to find our joy, and to rise up out of these dark places where we have currently found ourselves, because the way it is right now is a co-creation. It's not happening to us because the world is getting us. We decided to create a reality where we are all kind of going through something, and it's the going through something that's to our benefit. That's why it happens. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing it. Next card is death. And we may feel like death. We may feel like we're, what's that Adele song? Rolling in the deep, or just sinking in the deep. But, you know, that's a temporary feeling. I would venture to say even death is a temporary feeling, because we have a lot of little deaths in our lives that I don't think, give much credit for as being such. Like, every time you get your hopes up and you're disappointed, or not every time, but sometimes it feels like death. You feel like you're gonna die because the thing you wanted to happen didn't happen the way you thought it was going to, and it was disappointing that way, or just didn't go the way you were expecting it to. And when you have your expectations dashed and you really worked on them, and which is why you had like expectations, you want to die of embarrassment. You know, for instance, like, we're talking metaphorical here. I'm not predicting any actual deceasing or ceasing. And as you can see, you know, while this person is swaddled in their pity party blanket, feeling like death, it's gonna come to an end eventually. Like, the darkness is gonna end, the dawn is gonna break. You might still feel stormy, because that's a terrible looking sky. I don't know what's happening there. Oh, they're in like a cave or a tent or something. Okay, well, that's better. Here's the sky over here. But the point is, you know, maybe they've gone to huddle in their cave feeling like death because of their expectations didn't pan out, or there was a disappointment of some kind. There is growth and light, like actual real light there. And that is like rising above, let's just call it rising above these trees here, like a dawn. And, you know, rebirth is what comes after death. And so this is, resurrection is in there. Oh, come on, don't tell me you haven't recovered from being depressed. Okay, the next card is Nine of Wands. And here, I think this is like you're coming back to yourself. You gotta regain sense of self-worth, and you're feeling a little more secure. You're not real uptight about it. You're there with your staff. You figure if anything comes along, you can now deal with it. You have the fire. You're like all full of optimism and enthusiasm and new ideas, and that is very good. You're guarding your field. You have a field there. It's already in growth. I suppose all of that growth happened while you were recovering. Whoops. And now it's just a time where you're sort of letting things gestate. You just gotta wait until harvest time rolls around. But that gives you plenty of time to think. And, you know, like I said, you're recovering. You're in recovery from something taxing that you'd think you'd feel hopeful again. But I think this young person kind of, look at that hairdo. That is not like a going to a funeral hairdo. That is a happier demeanor. The next card is Ace of Wands, and this is giving me like thoughts that affect everyone sort of feeling, and like it's the embodiment of what the collective looks like, and this is like the collective thought that's gathered together and blended well and generated, like, and then you can see there's lines like ripples of energy coming out from it, and she's meditating. Yeah, that. Yeah, it's the collective, and maybe it's what's being generated here is a lot of people that are recovering and able to, like, they've alchemized their experiences into something positive that can be felt by everyone for the benefit of everyone. And the next card is the Empress. And you can see that there is, again, a young woman. Oh, it looks like she's got dreadlocks. I never noticed that before. So she's kind of a hipster. Oh my, cover yourself, girl. Anyway, you can see she's pregnant. And it kind of looks like the world, but it also kind of looks like a fat little fairy sitting there. Some wings, fat little belly, little arms crossed, indeterminate face. Anyway, yes, let me cover that. Loose woman's loose boob. She is deep in thought in a way. Like, look at her face. She looks kind of tender and happy and sweet, like she's dealing with a baby, and she has what will one day be a baby inside her. Not a, like, actual baby. I think we're talking about more of an idea here, and the baby being the world, the inhabitants of the world having come together and decided they don't want to live on Salusa Secundus, and they want to regreen the earth, terraform it, and make it a more habitable and place to be joyous again, to regain their joy and to have families joyfully. And I mean, you know, isn't that kind of the goal? Maybe not to have, like, the family, but to have things go well and to be better than okay. Like, I think we're all kind of looking for that. So the last card is the Page of Wands, and I feel like this is recovery. Like you have done it. You've gotten back to yourself. You're no longer impaired or blinded or poisoned by whatever darkness had got you before. Like now you're ready to embark on to new things. You had like a, where are you with the ideas? So now you're going to take all of those ideas and go make them a reality out in the world, and that is like a dance happening. And I almost want to say majorette, but it's funny, I was thinking of powwows earlier and other native dancing that I saw, and that's ceremonial in those communities a lot. So this is maybe a dance for, like, I'm about to embark on all of this new stuff, and you know, I'm exuberant to go do it, and this is just gonna like set the tone for whatever I'm gonna go out and do going forward, generally. And this would be a representation again of the collective. So there, that's it. Thank you and good night.